Hello, everyone. I decided to interview my dad, Max Greig, for my climate story project because he grew up in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, a coastal city located in the west coast of Mexico, where I happened to spend most of my childhood as well. And it will be interesting to hear how climate change has affected this vacation destination.
My name is Max, and I was born in 1961, and I grew up in Puerto Vallarta when it was a small fishing town of about 25,000 people. Over the following 30 years, it grew to what it is today, where there's about 300,000 people. We used to have a favorite camping spot near a river, and this area has been completely changed from floodings that have occurred from storms that have developed over the last decade or so that have poured tons of water up in the mountains and have eroded away the land and have flooded areas that normally was always dry land. We used to start this rainy season in a later part of June. Actually, there was a Mexican tradition that the rain started on the 21st of June, which was honoring one of the saints, Saint John. And people will always say, well, get ready for the rains. They're going to be coming on the 24th of June. And it was pretty much every year, it was pretty around that time of a year when the rainy season will start, and it will go all the way up to about September. Nowadays, rains start at the end of May and they continue until October. And then in September and October, we have seen an increase of hurricanes that come up the Pacific. And some of them even have hit Puerto Vallarta, a place that normally doesn't get hit by hurricanes. With all the fast development of Puerto Vallarta, the construction companies, the developers will go up into the hills and cut off the trees and leave a lot of open land that was exposed to the rains. And that has created several landslides that has affected the community. So community action that the people in Puerto Vallarta are doing is to protect the crocodiles. The crocodiles really have a very interesting role in the ecosystem. First, they are the largest predator of ecosystem. The other thing the crocodiles do, since their bodies go from one pond to another, they make little canals that are connecting the ponds. So that creates a diversity of the plankton that grows in the lowlands and marshlands of Puerto Vallarta. And that plankton makes it out to the sea. And then the whales come in and feed off of the plankton that was formed in the marshlands. And the whales themselves become a tourist attraction. So then it brings more tourists to Puerto Vallarta. But Puerto Vallarta lives off of tourism. So there are actions that are being taken by the community to clean up beaches and to even certify them as safe beaches. So I think there is a concern in the community because it lives off of tourism, and also the amount of heat that now we experience during the summer months. It's a lot more intense than it used to be when I was a child. And so that keeps tourism away. So it definitely has affected the economical situation of Puerto Vallarta.
When I was growing up there, I remember there were times that we couldn't go to the beach due to agua mala, like the increase of jellyfish population in the waters. So I was wondering, was it also common in your childhood, or is it something that evolved later on?
Yeah, well, there were short periods where we will find this type of stinging type of jellyfish, but it was very brief. Now they seem to hang around longer. And there's something else that has developed over the last decade or so, what we call the red tides. In Spanish, it's called marea roja. But the red tide is very toxic. It kills wildlife, it kills the birds, and it also kills off fishes. So it only grows when the waters get really warm, a consequence of a climate change. The fishermen no longer can catch fish within the bay. They have to go out into the open waters of a Pacific to get any good catch. And the reason for that is that there has been a lot of pollution that has come down from the rivers, the several rivers that come into the bay. And they bring in the chemicals from the farmers way up in the hills. And then as the same other wildlife that we used to see along the coastline, they have either died out or migrated someplace else. We don't see that much wildlife anymore like we used to during our childhood years.
Yeah, cool. I think that gave us a good insight on Puerto Vallarta's climate change. And that'll be all.